Okay, I have to speak up. I'm a Libra, and I'm so over being tossed in with chatty Gemini and aloof Aquarius. Just because we're air signs doesn't mean we all float around gossiping or analyzing things to death.
By the brilliance of Mercury's wings. There it is, the classic air sign stereotype, smooth and shallow as a breeze. Ella, even you should know better than to reduce an entire element to cocktail banter.
That's not entirely fair, Arlo. I've been studying astrology for years, and let's be honest, a lot of the popular traits do show up. Air signs are cerebral and communicative. The question is why?
Fair point, but let's not confuse repetition with truth. In traditional astrology, air is more than intellect and conversation. It's movement, mediation, connection. It's how spirit animates matter, how ideas become social structures.
So you're saying Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius aren't just the zodiac's PR team?
Hardly. Gemini is mutable air, swift, inquisitive, juggling contradictions. Libra is cardinal air, initiating equilibrium, law, and interpersonal order. And Aquarius, fixed air, visionary, slow to shift, but profound in its mental architecture.
So instead of being scattered, we're strategic?
Now you're speaking the language of the stars. Add in the traditional rulerships, elemental temperament, and mythological symbolism, and suddenly, these signs aren't lightweight at all. They're the lungs of the zodiac, bringing breath, clarity, and circulation to the whole system.
Well, I still reserve the right to cringe at. Libras are flirty, memes, but fine. I'm curious.
Excellent, because today we're sweeping away the fluff and revealing what the air signs really are in the classical tradition. By the blazing constellations. Welcome back, celestial explorers. This is episode 19 of Learning Traditional Astrology, and I'm your host, Arlo. With me, as always, are the sharpest minds this side of the zodiac, Ella, Clara, and Katrina. And of course, our trusty AI assistant, Cherry, is plugged in and ready to go.
Hi everyone. Last week's episode on the fire signs? Honestly, it lit a spark in me, no pun intended. But air signs? That's my territory. I'm so ready to unpack their deeper meanings today.
Same here. I appreciated how last episode pushed past the modern cliches. Today, I'm especially curious about how the element of air fits into the traditional cosmological framework, where reason, form, and movement all intersect.
I'm Katrina, and wow, every episode just opens another door. The amount of symbolism and history packed into these signs is kind of addictive. I feel like I'm just scratching the surface of something vast.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Cherry, your AI assistant and astrology research unit. I'm equipped with cross-era astrological texts, from Hellenistic to Renaissance, and ready to serve citations, interpretations, and historical insights on demand.
Wonderful. With a team like this, we're bound to soar. Today, we turn the cosmic page to the second triplicity of the zodiac, the air signs. They're often called the human signs, the intellectual ones, the connectors of ideas and people, but they're also some of the most misunderstood. So let's set the record straight, starting with Gemini, the Quicksilver twins. By the twins' inseparable bond. Today we step into Gemini, the first air sign we meet as spring ripens into summer. And let me tell you, this one's more than just whispers and wit.
Well, that's good to hear. Because as someone who's spent years navigating modern astrology, Gemini always seems to get the short end of the stick, chatty, flaky, even two-faced. It's like people can't decide whether to admire or avoid them.
And that, Ella, is the perfect segue. The thing with Gemini is, duality isn't a flaw. It's the point. But let's ground this in the traditional view. Clara, quick quiz. What's Gemini's mode?
Mutable. It marks the shift from spring to summer. And if I recall from our earlier discussion, it's also considered bicorporeal, double-bodied.
Exactly. Gemini embodies multiplicity. It isn't trying to be just one thing. It's holding two ideas at once, and sometimes, yes, even contradictions.
So that whole twin symbolism isn't just poetic fluff. There's actual philosophy behind it?
Absolutely. The ancient Mesopotamians saw the constellation as the great twins, heroes bound by destiny. The Greeks gave us Castor and Pollux, one mortal, one divine. When Castor died, Pollux chose death over separation. Zeus, moved by that love, place them in the sky together.
That's surprisingly emotional for a sign people call shallow. I like that story. It gives Gemini more heart than I expected.
And a bit of paradox too. I've met Geminis who hold two truths in their mind without forcing them to agree. It reminds me of Janus, the Roman god with two faces, always watching the past and future at once.
By Mercury's swift wings. Katrina, that's a brilliant parallel. Gemini is Janus-like, liminal, threshold-based, navigating between states. And that brings us to its ruler, Mercury.
The trickster, the scholar, the messenger. It fits. Geminis are curious, always asking questions, even when they already have the answer.
Right. Mercury moves fast, and so does Gemini, always scanning, flipping, analyzing. But while Mercury thrives on detail, Jupiter doesn't. That's why Jupiter is in its fall here.
Because Jupiter likes the big picture, broad principles, wisdom. Gemini, on the other hand, dissects the parts, the zoomed-in lens versus the telescope.
And don't forget the body part connection. Gemini rules the hands and arms. No wonder so many Geminis talk with their hands.
And you need two hands to write, to gesture, to create. It fits the duality.
Exactly. Gemini's symbolism lives in both motion and meaning. It governs those parts of life where we hold two truths, make two choices, or live two lives. It's no surprise that Venus in Gemini, for example, might indicate dual relationships, or a love that's both poetic and unpredictable. Cherry, what does our ancient guide Valens have to say about this mercurial sign?
From the Anthologies. Gemini is male, bicorporeal, articulate, the house of Mercury, upward trending, celestial, feminizing, a freedman, sterile, public. Under it are born scholars, those working in education and letters, poets, music lovers, declaimers, stewards, those who receive trusts, also translators, merchants, judges of good and evil, sensible people, practitioners of the curious arts, and seekers after mystic lore.
Practitioners of the curious arts. I love that. Sounds like Gemini is where the mind experiments.
And where curiosity rules the day. That's Gemini in traditional astrology. Not fickle, but flexible. Not shallow, but shimmering with complexity.
All right, color me intrigued. Gemini isn't just the zodiac's gossip column, it's the philosopher's mirror.
Well said, Ella. And now, let's glide from the twins to the scales. Our next stop is Libra. By the balance of the scales, let's shift our gaze now to Libra, the second of the air signs. Who remembers what cosmic event greets the sun when it enters Libra?
The autumn equinox. Day and night in perfect harmony. It's all about balance, which fits the symbol of the scales.
Exactly. Libra is defined by that moment of cosmic symmetry. It's not just about keeping the peace, it's about restoring equilibrium.
That makes sense. Scales were essential in commerce, used to weigh goods fairly, so the image naturally ties to justice and equity.
Speaking of justice, wasn't there an Egyptian myth where the heart of the dead was weighed against the feather of Mart?
Yes, and you're spot on. That idea runs deep. The Babylonians associated Libra's stars with the scales of Shamash, the god of fairness. The Romans linked it to Astrea, the goddess of divine justice.
So fairness is central. But what about charm? Most Libras I know have a real knack for social grace.
That's because we're ruled by Venus. We're not all extroverts, but we do know how to make things pleasant.
And there it is. As Venus's diurnal domicile, Libra values beauty, balance, and partnership. It's about more than aesthetics. It's about creating harmony in human relationships.
That explains why many Libras care so deeply about fairness. They'll go out of their way to make sure everyone feels heard.
True. Sometimes too much so. Ask a Libra to take sides in a heated debate and you'll get, well, let's hear both perspectives first.
Is that Venus, or does it have to do with Libra being cardinal?
Both. As a cardinal sign, Libra initiates, but in a relational way. While Aries charges ahead solo, Libra pauses to ask, how will this affect others? It's air in motion, seeking consensus rather than dominance.
And that push for consensus probably contributes to the indecisiveness stereotype. They're gathering data, social data, before committing.
Exactly. And this is also why the sun is said to be in its fall in Libra. Where Aries lets the individual shine, Libra encourages the self to yield to the group. It's about alignment, not assertion.
And the equinox again mirrors that symbolism. The sun begins its descent into winter just as it enters Libra. Speaking of descent, what body parts does Libra govern?
The lower back and the kidneys, places of internal balance and support. Cherry, cue us in on what Valens has to say.
From Anthologies. Libra is the house of Venus, masculine, equinoctial, anthropomorphic, upward trending, airy, feminizing, vocal, noble, changeable, a diminisher of estates, the lower midheaven of the universe, public, ecliptic, the supervisor of crops, vineyards, olive groves, aromatics, homesteads, measures, and artisans. Men born under this sign are noble and just, but malicious, covetous of others' goods, average in fortune, losing their original possessions and falling into vicissitudes, living through ups and downs of fortune, being in charge of measures, posts, and the grain supply.
Anthropomorphic? That's a strange word to use for a zodiac sign.
Good eye. In traditional classifications, anthropomorphic or humane signs are those symbolized by humans, like Libra. And yes, Gemini and Aquarius belong to that category too.
So the air signs all represent human figures and human concerns?
Exactly. Air is about movement, voice, reason. It's what links us. Speech, breath, even radio waves. Air is the medium of connection. That's why the air signs are often concerned with ideas, ideals, and social frameworks.
That's a beautiful image. Air as the bridge between minds.
And speaking of big ideas, let's turn our attention to the last air sign, Aquarius, the water bearer. By the generous pores of the water bearer, we've arrived at the final air sign, Aquarius. Coldest part of the year, the sun is at its weakest.
Right. And that's why the sun is in detriment here, correct? Aquarius is opposite Leo, where the sun is at home.
Exactly. Just as Aries stands opposed to Libra, Leo and Aquarius form a polarity. But where Leo centers on individual brilliance, Aquarius shifts the focus toward the collective, society, systems, and shared structures.
Wait, but why is it called the water bearer if it's an air sign? That's always confused me.
Excellent question, Katrina. In antiquity, Aquarius heralded the rainy season. The Babylonians linked the constellation to Ea, god of water and wisdom. Egyptians associated it with Hapi, spirit of the Nile's flooding, pouring life-giving waters onto the land.
And the sign's glyph. It resembles rippling water. That connection is older than I realized.
Indeed, the Greeks took it further, tying the sign to Ganymede, the beautiful youth Zeus brought to Olympus to serve as cupbearer. The myth emphasized youth, purity, and emotional detachment. Even the barrenness of the sign, its dryness, is part of that picture.
So maybe Aquarius is the lost water sign? It carries water, looks like water, but thinks like air.
Ha! You're not wrong. But don't be fooled. Its nature is very dry. Its concerns are societal, intellectual, even visionary, not emotional like Cancer or Pisces.
That would align with its rulership by Saturn, wouldn't it? Saturn is one of the dry planets, serious, analytical, and drawn to boundaries and form.
But Aquarius also gets pulled into modern symbolism. Tech, the internet, progress. That's not exactly Saturnian.
Ah, but fixed air is futuristic in its own right. The internet, space travel, those are Aquarian. Not because of chaos, but because of structure applied to communication. That's air through Saturn's eyes.
And the internet is a societal structure now. It's how we connect ideas, systems, and people on a global scale.
But how does air become fixed? Isn't that like trying to pin down the wind?
Clearly you've never argued with an Aquarius. Their opinions are immovable mountains. Fixed air doesn't scatter, it crystallizes into principles. Vision, not volume.
Touché. You've met a few Aquarians, I see.
And yet, because it's a humane sign, there's an openness there. Aquarius listens, just not always to be persuaded.
So where Pisces wants to feel what others feel, Aquarius wants to understand what others think.
Which explains their interest in theories, systems, and sometimes eccentric ideas.
Exactly. Aquarius strives for truth, but on its own terms. And in the body, it rules the ankles and the circulatory system, balancing Leo's rulership of the heart.
From Valens, Anthologies. Aquarius is the celestial sign which is masculine, solid, anthropomorphic, somewhat damp, single. It is mute, quite cold, free, upward trending, feminizing, unchanging, base, with few offspring, the cause of troubles arising from athletic training, carrying burdens, or work in hard materials, an artisan, public. Men born under this sign are malicious, haters of their own families, incorrigible, self-willed, deceitful, tricky, concealing everything, misanthropic, godless, accusers, betrayers of reputations and the truth, envious, petty, occasionally generous, uncontrollable.
That's quite a description, harsh, even.
But oddly accurate, detached, principled, unpredictable, and occasionally astonishingly kind.
Aquarius seems like a contradiction. Fixed, yet futuristic. Dry, but pouring water. Social, but distant.
And that, my stellar students, is the beauty of Aquarius. It reminds us that complexity lives at the edge of understanding, a sign of paradox, progress, and principle.
These air sign deep dives are blowing away so many of my modern astrology assumptions. I'm learning more about the signs, and myself.
That's what traditional astrology does. Now, let's bring it all together and summarize what we've learned today. By Mercury's swift wings, let's bring this skyward journey to a close with a recap. Clara, you're first. Walk us through Gemini.
With pleasure, Arlo. Gemini is a masculine, diurnal, mutable sign, sanguine in temperament and part of the air triplicity. It's the diurnal house of Mercury. This sign is curious, intelligent, sociable, and highly adaptable. Ruled by Mercury, it favors quick thinking, multiple interests, and agile communication. Gemini gives a light, breezy quality to any planet in it. There's an emphasis on wit, versatility, and words. It rules the lungs, arms, hands, and shoulders. Mars or Saturn here can suggest injuries like fractures or cuts to the hands.
Superb as always, Clara. Next up, Ella, tell us about Libra.
Sure, Arlo. Libra is a masculine, diurnal, cardinal sign. It's sanguine, and part of the air triplicity, ruled by Venus. It's a social, idea-driven sign, rational, diplomatic, and sometimes a little indecisive. Venus lends it grace, charm, and a deep appreciation for harmony. Libra rules the kidneys and lower back, fitting for a sign that seeks balance in everything.
Charmed by the beauty of equilibrium. Well said, Ella. All right, Katrina, you've got Aquarius.
Aquarius is masculine, diurnal, and fixed. It's another sanguine sign of the air triplicity and the diurnal house of Saturn. It's thoughtful, objective, and deeply concerned with society at large. There's friendliness and sincerity here, but also a detached cerebral edge. Saturn lends a serious tone, pushing Aquarius toward truth and scientific inquiry. Planets here often reflect humanitarian ideals. But Mars in Aquarius might show up as sharp criticism or discrimination. It rules the lower legs, shins, ankles, and the circulatory system.
By Jupiter's mighty thunder. Brilliantly done. That wraps up our exploration of the air signs, those light bringers of thought, speech, and connection.
I'm really starting to see how each sign is so much more than the stereotypes. Can't wait for what's next.
If you've been enjoying this journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below.
Until next time, keep your mind sharp and your eyes on the stars.
Bye.
Transmission complete. Logging off.